Well, hi everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Oschersleben Circuit, where we are about to get the first of the ADAC GT Masters races underway for season 2018. And it is, as always in the ADAC GT Masters, a phenomenal mix of cars and drivers who are about to contest this 60-minute plus one lap race, which features, of course, the driver change, the mandatory driver change between 25 and 35 minutes into the race, that 10-minute pit window. As we're going down the grid of cars now, looking at the Alessio Picciarello and Christopher Mee's car. There is the number 19 Ezequiel Perez Compact and Frank Pereira GRT Grasso Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan, the number 20 Mercedes AMG GT3 from Zach Speed. And there we find the number 25 Ricardo Fella Christopher Haas, BWT Motorsport Audi. Great to see Ferrari back in the ADAC GT Masters with HB Racing, the Ferrari 488. Great to see it on the grid of the ADAC GT Masters. And the rest of the cars, as we take our quick drive through of the grid, all lined up, or the cars all lined up ahead of going to the grid for this 60-minute plus one lap race from the ADAC GT Masters. So this time last year, it was a phenomenal start to the season, and sure, it's going to be the same this year. Incidentally, the HB Racing Ferrari 488 GT3, driven by Dominic Schwager and Luca Ludwig, as the girls make their way off the track now, and the cars will pull out one by one and form the grid and head around this 3.696 kilometer circuit. Features 14 turns, 7 of them left-handers, 7 of them right-handers, and at last, for the start of the GT Masters race, we do at last see sunshine and blue sky. It's been a morning punctuated with small showers, to be honest with you, but now the weather conditions are looking absolutely fantastic. You can see local time, it's 7 and 3/4 minutes past 1 o'clock. And the cars and drivers all lined up. At the opening round last year, the race is won by Matteo Jaminet and Michael Ammermuller, and also Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard. So it was Porsche that took race 1 win, and BMW that took race 2 win. Form guide, no guarantee from last year as to what we are going to see this year, because the teams, of course, over the winter period working very, very hard, and cars have been out in testing. We do know it's been a fantastic performance in qualifying from Philip Ellis and Max Hofer for Phoenix Racing with the Audi R8 LMS that have put the car on pole position. P2 goes the way of the number 63 Andrea Caldarelli, Mirko Bortolotti, GRT Grasso Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan. We'll bring you the full grid in due course. A great overview of the Oschersleben circuit here at, I suppose we're about midway between Hanover and Berlin. There are our pole sitters then. Max Hofer and Philip Ellis in the Audi R8 LMS. Next to them on the grid then, Mirko Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Then on the next row of the grid, we see the Mikkel Jensen, Timo Scheider, BMW M6 GT3. Welcome back, Timo Scheider. Say welcome back to the track. Two-time DTM champion, of course, and great start, Timo Scheider. Back in the car once again. Indy Doncia and Maxi Buch in the Mercedes AMG GT3 will be going from P4 on the grid. So the man filter liveried Mercedes. And then up next we see the Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi of Sheldon and Kelvin van der Linde, as Dr. Mario Thiessen invites the drivers to start their engines for what will be undoubtedly a phenomenal race from the ADAC GT Masters. So the second drivers make their way into the garages, and it's down to the first drivers to do everything out there on track. As I mentioned, a good crowd here to enjoy the ADAC GT Masters action. 30 seconds before formation lap will be underway for the ADAC GT Masters. You're very welcome to join us for the duration of the race. A phenomenal number of cars, a phenomenal number of manufacturers represented in the ADAC GT Masters. Final members of teams making their way off the grid then. And we are about to go racing. Jamie Green there to the right-hand side of your picture in those BWT pink and white overalls. One of 3 appearances he'll be making in the GT Masters this year. The new cars, the Ferrari 488 GT3 and also the Honda NSX GT3 making their debuts in the ADAC GT Masters. And the grid will feature some 7 former ADAC GT Masters champions. The most winningest driver, Daniel Karlwitz, who is also on the grid. So here comes the grid in full for you as promised then, as we whistle through this. It's Max Hofer and Bortolotti, P1 and P2. Then it's Mikkel Jensen and Indy Doncic going from row 2 of the grid. Sheldon van der Linde and Tunjo then are on row 3. Lucas Stoltz and Timo Bernhard, P7 and P8. P9 is Marvin Kirchhofer and Jeffrey Schmidt goes from P10 on the grid. Then it's Marcus Pommer and Felipe Salaquada going from row 6. Row 7 features Robert Renau and Christopher Sochling, P13 and 14. And then row 8, it's Nikolai Rogevu, and then Dre Spring goes from P16 on the grid with Dennis Marshall and Dominic Schwager sharing row 9. Mike David Ortman and Ricardo Feller are on the 10th row with Kim Louis Schramm and Ezequiel Perez Compact, P21 and P22. Picariello and Delina are going from row 12. Assenheimer and Beretta are on row 13 of the grid with Philipp Geipel and Florian Spengler, 27 and 28. Claudia Hurtgen and Rolf Nijken. Then we see Friedrich and Earhart and Remo Lips and Jonathan Dudek on row 17 of the grid, and bringing up the rear then for the Iron Force by Ring Police team. It is Jean-Eric Sluten, who teams up with Lucas Luhr this weekend. So behind the safety car then, the cars will grid up. Pole position for Philip Ellis and Max Hofer for Phoenix Racing in the Audi, alongside the Mirko Bortolotti then in the orange one by GRT Grassa Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So around turn 14 now, heading towards the lights. The first race of the ADAC GT Masters season for 2018 is about to get underway. But lights staying red. We have a green on our timing screen, but wave double yellow, so the start cars obviously not where they were supposed to be, so an additional formation lap, and a problem here for the Callaway competition car. The #1 machine of Marvin Kirchhofer and Daniel Karlwitz. Straight into the pit lane. So Marvin Kirchhofer, as you can see, at the wheel of the Callaway competition C7 GT3 car. And the car starts. So engineers in there resetting. Tense moments for the team and also for the driver. So the car back down the pit lane then, but will end up having to start presumably from the pit lane. So right at the back of the pack, car's told to form up into grid position then after this extra formation lap. So for Max Hofer and Philip Ellis all over again. Mirko Bortolotti the same. So the cars begin to get into grid order. The first 6 or 7 rows have done so. So the extra formation lap provides extra value for money for you because the clock has not started yet. So we get an extra parade lap, if you like, of these phenomenal cars ahead of the start of this ADAC GT Masters race for season 2018. Packed season, which will take in Most and Red Bull Ring and Nürburgring, Zandvoort, Sachsenring and Hockenheim right at the end of racing. So lights red now, but when they go green, we go racing in ADAC GT Masters for 2018. So Audi versus Lamborghini heading into turn number 1. So as the cars all go through the faster layout of this hotel turn, Max Hofer then, Mirko Bortolotti P1 and P2. And fights already over P6, 7, 8 and 9 in the early stages of this before one lap is complete. The cars at the front are really stretching their legs. So the ADAC GT Masters then on the opening lap of this first race of the season. Cars settling down into rhythm now and lining up cars ahead of them. The Ricardo Feller, Christopher Haas, Audi R8 LMS. We can see there the BWT livery is so bold. BMW M6 GT3 car there. So about to complete the first lap of racing from the GT cars on track in now what is perfect weather conditions for GT racing. And across the timing line now, the order is Max Hofer, then it's Bortolotti. Sheldon van der Linde is up to P3. Down goes Mikkel Jensen, so too Indy Doncher in the Mercedes-Benz, down to P5. So cars snaking around the turn 2 and turn 3. See big battle going on further down the order between that Lamborghini, but now Max Hofer beginning to feel the pressure of the Mirko Bortolotti Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car because they are within 3/10 of each other for P1 and P2. There's Indy Doncher in the all-yellow Mercedes-Benz, and then in the number 26 car, Jeffrey Schmidt sharing that car with Jamie Green, the number 99 Porsche of Robert Renard and Matteo Jaminet. So through the chicane the cars come. The KUS Team 75 Bernhard Porsche of Timo Bernhard and Kevin Estra, both supreme drivers in that car, which is currently down there in P11. On board with Indy Doncher, who shares the car with Maxi Book, former champion, of course, and Indy Doncher in the number 48 car, currently running in P5, having lost out on a couple of positions in the early stages of this ADAC GT Masters race. But the P1 and P2 cars just breaking away from Sheldon van der Linde and Mikkel Jensen and Indy Doncher as well. So black flag to car number 6, the Oscar Tunio Jake Dennis car, the Phoenix Racing Audi, for pushing another car off the track. The black and white flag to car number 06, as you can see on your screen, and there is the car. So we're currently in that P6 position. Warm welcome to Jake Dennis into the ADAC GT Masters. He's made a super career in GT racing as Jake Dennis from a stellar single-seater career. So resplendent in the sunshine then as the cars led by Max Hofer, who's got just under 5/10 ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. Then it's Sheldon van der Linde, who's about 1.5 seconds behind. We're on board with Dominic Schwager now in the number 7 HB Racing Ferrari 488 GT3 car. just momentarily. The Zach Speed Mercedes-Benz. And here comes the P1 and P2. Number 6 car really dropping down the order. And lost out on a number of places. The Oscar Tunio, Jake Dennis, Audi Rallye LMS. Cars 6 and 17 have got to change their positions. So benefiting from that is Timo Bernhard in the Porsche. And losing out on a number of other places as well is the Phoenix Audi. So there's a replay of the start then, and Marco Bortolotti certainly took it to Max Hofer, and this was Indy Doncia losing out initially to the number 42 BMW of Mikkel Jensen, and also to the fast-charging Sheldon van der Linde as well. So back on the power goes Indy Doncia then. By then, Sheldon van der Linde had made up 2 places. So good to get these replays, this right at the very start then. Phenomenal onboard shot in replay. And there you can see to the left of the picture is the number 6 Audi of Oscar Tunio and Jake Dennis. And this was what it would look like from Dominic Schwager in the HP Racing Ferrari. Who got out onto the gravel and the grass, which is why Dominic Schwager has gone so far down the order in the debut of that Ferrari 488 GT3 car. In the meantime, Max Hofer continues to lead from Mirko Bortolotti, who is P2. And those two have broken by some 2.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the baying pack. But Max Hofer is really having to defend. We're on board with Mirko Bortolotti now. Great for this onboard shot. You can see to the very left of your picture the gears being used. And into the garages as well. So Bortolotti up into 5th gear, down 4th, 3rd. Hard on the curbs, chasing down the car ahead. At the moment has been unable to settle that Phoenix Racing Audi R8 LMS, which is leading the race and completes another lap. So the margin between the two of them is just 5/10. That's all. Then Sheldon van der Linde really out on his own ahead of Mikkel Jensen. Then it is Milan Doncia. And then we see running in 6th is the Lucas Stolz Zach Speed Mercedes AMG GT3, which we can see in full effect behind us now as we go on board with Milan Doncia in the MAN Filters liveried car. And now looking forward through the Indy Doncia car, sharing this car with Maxi Book. Chasing down that number 42 BMW of Mikkel Jensen, the car that's shared with Timo Scheider for BMW Team Schnitzer. And Bortolotti now turns the wick up and really puts the pressure on. Max Hofer ahead. For the moment, Max Hofer able to defend well. Sheldon van der Linde quietly getting towards the Bortolotti and Hofer battle. The more these two can battle P1 and P2, the better it is for Sheldon van der Linde, who's able to get ever closer. And Sheldon van der Linde, though, not quite as quick as the P1 and P2 drivers over the last lap. So any advantage he had has just been eked away a little bit by these two, who really are setting a phenomenal pace. Here at Oschersleben, 3.969 is the circuit length. And there the Schnitzer BMW then. Mikkel Jensen and Timo Scheider running in that P4 position. And now Indy Doncia feeling the pressure of the number 21 Mercedes-Benz, driven by Lukas Stolz behind. So the two Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3 cars then in a fraught fight here. Whoa! That was close to the back of the Indy Doncic car. And again, this will be advantageous to Mikkel Jensen, who, the more these fight, will be able to get away. And let's not lose sight of the fact that Jeffrey Schmidt is closing in onto this battle as well, as you can see in the Audi behind, which is running in P7 at the moment, the car of Jeffrey Schmidt, partnered with Jamie Green for this weekend in the hot seat for Stefan Mucker. So running in P7 at the moment. But getting ever closer to that P6 and P5 position, potentially. Bortolotti still cannot offer anything to Hofer. Hofer has still got it completely under control, but it's 3 for P5 now, because these three are all together. So we're on board with Indy Doncic then. This is perhaps the closest and most intriguing battle on track at the moment. Mikkel Jensen is able to escape up the road and try not to be part of it, although, I have to say, the pace that they're fighting, Indy Doncic is getting closer to Mikkel Jensen. There's no question about that now. You can actually see it on screen, and Schmidt is letting the two cars ahead do all the work for him. So, Indy Doncic P5. P6 is with Lukas Stolz. And then in P7 it is Jeffrey Schmidt in the pink Audi. In P8 it's Robert Renauer in the Porsche. Ahead of P9, which is Philippe Salaquada. And rounding out the top 10 is the number 17 car of Timo Bernhard and Kevin Estre. So that is the top 10 at the moment. Turn our attention just momentarily there. We did for the P11 place, which is being held at the moment by the Audi of Oscar Tunio. So between 25 and 35 minutes into the race is when the pit window opens. It's up to the teams and the drivers to decide when, within that pit window, we decide to come in and do that driver change. Strategic timing does play a part, of course. The number 17 KUS Team 75 Bernhard car of Timo Bernhard and Kevin Estre that we saw there. So Philippe Salaquada being chased down by Timo Bernhard at the moment. Bernhard certainly looks to be the quicker of the two. It's the fight for P9. This for the fight for P1, and Max Hofer has not been able to break away from the Lamborghini Huracan right behind. So at the moment the Audi is leading the way, but Mirko Bortolotti really has been with him the whole way for the first 15-minute duration of this race, and Max Hofer has not been able to just break away from this car. So Max Hofer now metaphorically sticks his elbows out to try and make the car as wide as possible. And here, making its way up the order then, the HB Racing Ferrari, or not? Well, a little touch between the two of them. Chase that's going on further down the order, but in the end the Ferrari prevailed, or did it, because it got a bit of a wobble on there, but was able to hold on to that position. So the Dominic Schwager car running down there in P21 and P20. That was the battle that we were watching. The back to the resumption of the main battle that's going on between Max Hofer and Mirko Bortolotti. Out on his own very much in P3 is Sheldon van der Linde, sharing the car, of course, with Kelvin van der Linde. We're on board once again with Indy Doncic in P5. Just see that car into the picture now, the all-yellow machine. is still leading that chase, which has now been joined by Robert Renaud, who's got onto the tail of that battle. Robert Renaud will be able to liven it up. For the moment, Max Hofer extends his margin by just a few 100ths over Mirko Bortolotti. The gap is up to very nearly half a second, which is as wide as it's been the entire duration of the race thus far. Still running in P6 is Lucas Stoltz, as you can see, who is not able to unsettle Indy Doncic ahead of him. And then the Mikkel Jensen BMW. Number 42. Sharing, of course, with Timo Scheider as Stoltz just gets a little bit closer there to Indy Doncic, but unable to find a way past or even provoke a small error. If anyone's going to provoke and maybe enforce the driver ahead to make an error, it's certainly what Mirko Bortolotti is trying to do on Max Hofer, but thus far has been unsuccessful in being able to unsettle the Audi ahead. The orange one by GRT Grasser Lamborghini Huracan that we're on board with right now, chasing down the race-leading Max Hofer Audi. That number 5 car from Phoenix Racing, Audi R8 LMS. P3 out on his own is Sheldon van der Linde, who is unable really to get close enough to the two at the front, but he's in a position where the more these are all battling amongst themselves, it's sort of securing his position out there without too much to worry about. So Sheldon van der Linde out on his own in P3 at the moment. So into the Grasser Racing Garage we were. All sorts of strategies will be being looked at now, whether dependent upon, presumably, when Max Hofer decides to come in, or when the team decide to bring Max Hofer in and swap over to Philip Ellis. Whether Mirko Bortolotti, and when he will come in, and the driving duties will be taken over by Andrea Caldarelli. So the gap at just under 4 tenths now between the two of them. They cross the last sector line. Really matched pace for pace. You can't help but feel that just maybe the Huracan has got a little bit more to offer, but has got to find a way past the Audi ahead. As they cross the timing line now, it was 0.395 is now exactly 3 tenths between the two of them. So a slightly better lap there from Bortolotti. A little bit of a door left open there for Hofer, or by Hofer, but nothing that Bortolotti could really take advantage of. But just get the impression that Max Hofer is tiring of having to defend so very hard against Mirko Bortolotti at the moment, and Sheldon van der Linde is getting closer as well. So Sheldon van der Linde quicker than both of them on the last lap. And there you can see the Audi of Sheldon van der Linde coming into the picture now, proving that he's getting closer to this P1, P2 fight that's going on. So 0.398. It's now 0.371. So Bortolotti is bringing the gap down, but doesn't look like he's really going to put an overtake move together. 3.5 minutes before the window opens for driver change. I'm betting that we'll see these coming at exactly the same time. So the one with the pace now over the two of them, and again quicker, is Sheldon van der Linde. Mikkel Jensen again is out on his own, stays that way. Indy Doncic we're on board with now, P5. Stoltz P6, Jeffrey Schmidt P7, Robert Renaud is P8. And that four-way battle for P4 at the moment. four-way battle for P5 because P4 is with Mikkel Jensen. He's not really involved in this. He's out on his own, isn't he? And it's Indy Dontje who's got that pack of 3 cars right behind him, baying to try and unsettle Indy Dontje, but thus far has been unable to do so. We're on board with the number 7 Dominic Schweger, HB Racing Ferrari 488 GT3, which is further down the order than would like to be. Fighting with that Mercedes-Benz and winning the fight with the Mercedes-Benz. The Ferrari is ahead. It's P20 for HB Racing and P21. Focus on the eyes there, awaiting the call to jump into the car. So, Hofer, Bortolotti, Sheldon van der Linde, Mikkel Jensen, Indy Dontje, Lucas Stoltz. We saw just a few moments ago Sebastian Asch in the garage awaiting. So, a minute and a quarter before that window opens. Very good job in defense Max Hofer is doing here, because he is having to defend. And actually, last time around, these two were quicker than Sheldon van der Linde in P3. Van der Linde is some 2.3 seconds down on the leader. But those three have really broken away from Mikkel Jensen, who's a further 10 seconds down the road in P4. Indy Dontje and Lucas Stoltz continuing to battle here, but Indy Dontje has been another driver who's really shown a fine display of defensive driving. Hasn't been able to see off any charges and challenges from the Lucas Stoltz car. So Maxi Goertz standing by to jump in. Former GT Masters champion, former DTM driver, of course, Maxi Goertz. And Indy Dontje then in car number 48. As the first of the cars come in then for their driver change. That pit window open. Very long pit in to the Oschersleben circuit. Bortolotti really losing out to Max Hofer now, who's increased that lead. Now it was 4 tenths last time around. It's increased, it's doubled. It's 8 tenths now between P1 and P2. In comes Indy Dontje then. Maxi Boek will be standing by to jump into the number 48 car. So pit limiter to 60 kilometers per hour. The approach to the pit lane. Maxi Boek runs to the car to pull Indy Dontje out, and right behind Maximilian Goertz getting into the sister Mercedes-Benz car. Shared with Marcus Pommer, of course. So Pommer assisting Maxi Goertz. Also in is the Zach Speed car of Nikolai Silvestre and Kim Louis Schramm. Zach Speed team run by Peter Sarkowski. The number 19 Ezequiel Perez Compact, Frank Pereira. Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan. Maxi Buch makes his way out of the pit lane. So down the pit lane goes Maxi Buch and returns to the circuit here. Right behind the BMW M6 GT3, which of course has not stopped yet. So Maxi Buch at the wheel of this car now, rather than Indy Doncha, the Man Filter Team HTP Motorsport Mercedes-Benz, lining up the BMW, which will be for position. The BMW has not yet been in, nor to have the P1 and P2 cars, the Audi and the Lamborghini here that are contesting that P1, P2. Sheldon van der Linde also staying out there. Brother Kelvin van der Linde is the driver that will jump into that car. Caldarelli is waiting to jump into the Lamborghini Huracan. And of course, Philip Ellis waiting to jump into the race-leading Audi. Neither again choose to come in on this occasion. Pretty sure that Sheldon van der Linde stayed out there as well. Sure enough. So the top three, as we were then, as they all cross the timing line now. Mirko Bortolotti has reeled in some of the gap that Max Hofer had created. It was up to 8/10. It's now back down to 4/10. So that's just barely a tiny error somewhere on the track is enough to do that. And we're very nearly halfway through the race. P is indicative on the left-hand side of those that have been into the pit lane for their mandatory driver change. Over running just a bit wide, but Bortolotti not close enough. Philip Ellis then standing by to jump into the car. Halfway through that window open. There's Caldarelli waiting to jump in as well. Mirko Bortolotti having done a good job. Car number 82 is under investigation for pit stop time, and that's the car of Roffer Nyken and Christian Engelhardt, and actually getting a drive-through penalty, so clearly underserved their pit stop time. So P1 and P2 stay out there. Wasn't quite able to see whether Sheldon van der Linde came in on this occasion or not. No, don't think so. So Lucas Stolz out, Sebastian Asch in to the Zach Speed BKK Mobil Oil Racing Mercedes. And critically in also the BMW. Here is Maxi Buch we're on board with now. It's all getting very busy on the exit of the pit lane. So Maxi Buch now with that Zach Speed Mercedes ahead. So the two Mercedes-Benz fighting, but in positions that are reversed, relative. Of course, we wait until the pit window closes, and then we get back to the true order. There is the number 26 Jeffrey Schmidt, Jamie Green car, in then the number 43 BMW of Dennis Marshall and Victor Boveng. Could just hear a lot of understeer there through one of the turns. Well, P1 and P2, the fight has got even closer now because we're down to 3/10 between this driver, Mirko Bortolotti, and Max Hofer ahead. Van der Linde is 3 seconds down on these two, and Bortolotti just going for a move on the inside now. Oh, and we lose the onboard picture just momentarily. But this is the most pressure that Hofer has been under since the start of the race. Bortolotti has just found from somewhere additional grip, additional pace, because he really is taking the race to Max Hofer now. But 2.5 minutes left of the pit window being open. Which means that they could complete this lap and potentially do one more, maybe, maybe not. Seven minutes of the race remaining overall. Oh, and they both dive in simultaneously down to the pit lane speed limit. They are very nearly welded together. So this will be fascinating. I hope we stay with this for the entire duration of the pit stop. All three, the 1, 2, 3, out, off the track and into the pit lane at exactly the same time. So Bortolotti then out of the car, Caldarelli waiting to jump in. Hofer out, Ellis in. Driver assisting those that are going into the cars. Pinpoint accuracy is absolutely critical from the teams in terms of making sure they're in the pit lane for the right amount of time. Any mistakes will cost dear in terms of a drive-through penalty. Philip Ellis has given a bash on the top of the crash helmet to say good luck. So car fires back up again because the engines have to be turned off. And this is going to be a real race. Brilliant split screen. Don't stall it now. Caldarelli on his way. Oh, and oh, that was so close. So close. But it's as we were. It's Audi leading Lamborghini, leading Audi. But now it's Philip Ellis, Andrea Caldarelli, and Kelvin van der Linde. P1, 2, and 3, with exactly 25 minutes of the race still to come. But look at the car that's in front of the Philip Ellis Audi. It's another Lamborghini Huracan. So the number 62 car which is P2, 63, beg your pardon. There is our race leader, there is P2, and there is P3. The big beneficiary here has been Kelvin van der Linde, who's much closer now than Sheldon was when the cars came in. So pit window is now closed. Car off into the gravel. That's the Honda NSX. Far enough away, I would think, for it not to cause a problem. It's the Christopher Drayspring Giorgio Maggi car that is in the gravel. And it was in that fight with the Audi. Car gets spun around into the gravel, so the Drayspring Maggi car is out and beached in the gravel. Also having gone around is the number 17 car of Kevin Estre and Timo Bernhard. A little bit of touch between the two Audis there as well. So incident between cars number 3 and number 9 is under investigation. It was the Nikolai Rogovu Frederick Vervich Audi that we saw. Now, I would have said where that car is positioned and beached in the gravel, that it won't call for a safety car because it's far enough away from the track. But, of course, the rules are with regards to recovering the car as well. Safety, of course, has to be considered, and sure enough, the safety car is called for. Well, this may really play into the hands of potentially Kelvin van der Linde, who's in P3 at the moment. P2 is with Caldarelli, and of course P1 is with Philip Ellis, former Audi TT Cup racer, of course. So the cars will bunch up. Does mean is for P4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, they'll all bunch up close together, and you can just see how far these three have got ahead of everybody else. So they join behind the safety car. And there is the stricken Honda, which will have to be recovered from there, clearly. And can only be recovered from there when the race has been brought under the control of the safety car. And the incident that caused that number 9 car to be put in that position, which concerned the Audi R8 LMS of Nikolai Rogevu and Frederick Vervich, is under investigation. Phenomenal looking car making its debut in the ADAC GT Masters, as indeed is the Ferrari 488 of HB Racing. So recovery operation very quickly underway. Once that lifting device has been secured, the car will be lifted and taken away. This was the battle between the two of them, but the little touch was enough to send that Honda spinning around and into the gravel. "20 minutes of the race remaining, and we are behind the safety car, which has bunched them all up, as you can see. Make for a thrilling fight for us. Many fans here at Oschersleben this weekend, and first of the 2 race days. Now, as I mentioned, the one that might be the big beneficiary of this potentially could be Kelvin van der Linde from P3, although Timo Scheider will fancy his chances from P4, having taken over from Jeffrey Schmidt, of course. And behind them is Ashley, it's Matteo Javanet and Maxi Luke. As the Honda NSX is really rather unceremoniously taken away at the end of its first race in the ADAC GT Masters. So hopefully the safety car will be coming in potentially at the end of this lap, or will it do one more? Yes, indeed. Safety car coming in this lap. So, Philip Ellis needs to back them all up now, and Andrea Caldarelli, of course, will try and anticipate when Philip Ellis is going to give it a footfall. And the race will resume for the final 18 minutes or so. Ellis goes for it now. Everyone else goes for it at exactly the same time, so Ellis has got no advantage here. And if Caldarelli gets a better exit out of the turn and has more momentum going into the hotel turn, they're really close together. Kelvin van der Linde is P3. Then it's Timo Scheider, who is running in P4. So Caldarelli then really tight on the curbs there, just looking for a window of opportunity on the inside from Philip Ellis, but the window of opportunity wasn't there. So a big high shot there as now Caldarelli steps it up. And this plays into the hands of Kelvin van der Linde and also potentially to Timo Scheider, who of course behind her, hoping the more that these two will fight together, the more it enables them to potentially take advantage of the battles that are going on ahead. Philip Ellis, does he make a mistake there? Ran a little bit wider, but was able to close the door on Andrea Caldarelli. So we go on board then with the Kelvin van der Linde car momentarily. Ellis leads from Caldarelli and Kelvin van der Linde. And there in the number 42 BMW is Timo Scheider, who's taken over the driving duties from Mikkel Jensen. They're in P4 at the moment. Power in the Audi then. As Kelvin van der Linde gives it everything he possibly can across the timing line. Margin between Ellis and Caldarelli is 6/10. It's about the same back to Kelvin van der Linde, and then about the same again back to Timo Scheider, who is P4. So the whole lot all gaggled into one line now following that safety car intervention. The Maxi Book is the best of the Mercedes, the all-yellow Mercedes-Benz to show in P7. There is our third-place driver, Kelvin van der Linde. But Philip Ellis doing a good job out front at the moment. As they cross the timing line, he had 6/10 of margin over Andrea Caldarelli, but Caldarelli begins to try and fight back. Once again, these two, the pace that these two are showing means that they are breaking away a little bit from Kelvin van der Linde in P3. There will be no further action for the incident between car number 3 and car number 9. Car number 9, of course, the Honda NSX, which ended up in the gravel, which provoked the safety car in the first instance. So, Philip Ellis, again, he just uses that turn 14, gets a little bit wider there, but it's going through turn number 1, stroke 2, where he needs to hold on to a tight inside line, but Caldarelli remains 4/10 between the two of them. It's now here where the car drifts out, you see. Caldarelli is always on those curves looking for that window of opportunity on the inside, but the inside soon becomes the outside for the next turn. So now Caldarelli does manage to get a little bit of a panel alongside Philip Ellis, but is unable to make anything more of it than a glancing opportunity. But Philip Ellis is clearly feeling the pressure of Caldarelli. He's not made any major mistakes because Caldarelli is still behind. But a lot of pressure for the young Philip Ellis, said former Audi TT Cup star, now into this ADAC GT Masters campaign for 2018. And defending for all his worth from Andrea Caldarelli in the Lamborghini behind, the Lamborghini that looked so good in testing for ADAC GT Masters, as did the Audis. ADAC do a great job in terms of the performance between all of these manufacturers' cars, making for close and exciting tight racing. Kelvin van der Linde then out on his own in P3 is about 8/10 ahead of Timo Scheider, but is about 8/10 behind Caldarelli, who is in P2. Again, Philip Ellis has just got that line around the hotel turn perfectly sorted. Caldarelli with his lights on. This was where he tried to have a look at the inside just one lap ago, but was unable to make anything of it. So Philip Ellis then metaphorically sticking his elbows out, making it as difficult as possible for Andrea Caldarelli. In fact, it's been so difficult, he's not been able to find a way through, so doing a good job in defending. Going to keep it up for another 13 minutes plus one lap, of course. So the cars rattle through the first chicane here at this 3.696 kilometer circuit at Oschersleben. There is the number 17 car of Kevin Estre and Timo Bernhard. Kevin Estre at the wheel, up to P16 for that BMW. The RWT Corvette that we saw just for a few moments there. As Ellis was a 10th quicker than Caldarelli over the last lap. And both of them again just breaking away from that P3 position, which is held onto by Kelvin van der Linde, sharing the car with his brother Sheldon, the South African brother pairing. Making names for themselves in European GT racing now. Remember the year of dominance of Rennie Rast and Kelvin van der Linde in GT Masters. Rennie Rast, of course, now a DTM champion. Kelvin taken a lot from the experienced Rennie Rast, that's for sure, and turned into a fine young racing driver himself. So, really under pressure now in that BMW. Fighting and watching that battle, but now we go on board with Luca Ludwig there. It was that battle that I was enjoying just at the front of this group of cars. So, there you can see down in P15. Ooh, the panel damage on the car ahead. And here comes Ludwig onto the Audi ahead. Just as we were watching that, did the Porsche go through on the BMW? Not quite. All over the back of that number 43 BMW of Dennis Marshall is the 17 car of Kevin Estre and Timo Bernhard. We're on board once again with Luca Ludwig, who makes the panel damage a little more pronounced on the Audi ahead of him. Number 24 car of Markus Winkelhock. So into the final 10 minutes of this race, plus one lap. And still this fight goes on. We're now on the outside, but we'll try and switch back for the inside, the exit of the chicane, but unable to do so. Throwing absolutely everything at it, Kevin Estre in the number 17 Porsche. At the moment, cannot unsettle Victor Boveng ahead in that BMW. This is a really exciting battle to watch. It's way, way down the order, but that matters not. So into hotel turn, and now surely Estre has done enough to get on the inside, but of course that rapidly becomes the outside. So you really have to be committed and make that job done and won in one move, and wasn't able. Now Estre, a little love tap on the back of the Boveng BMW, dives out of it very fairly and doesn't take any advantage of the slight unsettling of the BMW ahead. Well, car number 7 is getting the black and white flag for pushing another car, as Boveng just ran a little bit wide there and lost a millisecond of momentum. Is that enough for Estre behind? Great race action going on here. It's the fight for P15, would you believe? But throughout the grid in ADAC GT Masters, generally speaking, always plenty of fraught and frantic fights going on, and that's what makes the series so appealing. So as they head towards the timing line now, we're on board with Luca Ludwig, who's been shown the black and white flag then. And all over the back of the BMW, Kevin Estre looks. It's the faster configuration now of the hotel term that is being used. And again, the window is left open on the inside, but it's because it soon becomes the outside. Also, this battle going on between the Jake Dennis car and Christopher Zoechling. Now, surely, yes. Kevin Estre, after lap of unyielding pressure, has managed to get past Victor Boveng. And now in the number 24 car, Marcus Winkelhock will be trying to do the same, and that was propelled by Luca Ludwig, who we're on board with now. Luca Ludwig having been shown the black and white flag for his propelling stance. And further down the order, P20 and P21 being contested and fought over. Christopher Mies and Daniel Karlwitz. Daniel Karlwitz, the most winning driver in ADAC GT Masters. We've got 6.5 minutes of the race remaining. The Ellis Caldarelli battle at the front is down to just under 3/10. And this the fight that was going on for P11 and P12. And it's Jake Dennis that has muscled his way through to take up P11. And eventually then, after all that pressure, Kevin Estre was able to put the Porsche ahead of the BMW. So the fight at the front then continues. It's as fraught as it was. But there's been no moving Philip Ellis. Now that Estre has been released from the clutches of that BMW, he is up the road like a thing possessed. Extraordinary pace in that car that he has. So the Victor Boveng car really is a bit of a cork in the bottle here. Behind now is the Marcus Winkelhock BWT Motorsport Audi R8 LMS. Little shove on the back of the Victor Boveng BMW. Luca Ludwig is lurking behind in the Ferrari 488 car. Ellis extending his lead by a 10th on the last lap over Andrea Caldarelli, as we keep our eyes on the timing screen at the same time as everything else is going on here. And that, you can see, is the little tap of frustration from Marcus Winkelhock onto the Victor Boveng BMW. So this fight at the front then continuing. And Andrea Caldarelli, for the moment, you have to think, when's he gonna do it? He's tried so very, very hard over the whole stint, but he knows that time is running out. 4 minutes plus 1 lap is all that remains. So the challenge and charge has got to come soon. But to be fair, the pace in the Audi and the driving skill of Philip Ellis has meant that the margin between the two has increased by a 100th or so. Incidentally, car number 14 is under investigation for pit stop infringement, potentially. That's the car of Jens Klingman and Christopher Zoechling. And they're getting very lively on the back of the Porsche. Is the oh, and I really really thought, sorry, I just broke away from my thought process then, because I thought he'd left the window open more than before. It was the Sven Bart and Claudia Hürtgen Corvette that we were looking at. But then all of a sudden, Philip Ellis seemed to go even wider through the hotel turn than he had for a while, and thought that was going to be the opportunity. Drive-through penalty for violation of Article 39.1. That's for car number 14. That is the Jens Klingmann, Christopher Sochling BMW M6 GT3 car. So in for drive-through penalty. Two minutes remain, plus one lap. Philip Ellis continuing to lead. In comes car number 14 then. Jens Klingmann. It's Christopher Sochling that drove the first stint. It was Mirko Bortolotti that drove the first stint in the car, which is in P2. It's being driven now by Andrea Caldarelli, who's fighting very, very hard with Philip Ellis ahead. Number 5 car driven in the first stint by Max Hofer. And they have been virtually welded together for lap after lap in the first stint of the race and in the second stint of the race as well. Absolutely nothing between the two of them, but good driving from all four of the drivers over the course of the two parts of this race. So very close between the two of them. So they'll have this lap, plus one more, plus one more, I think. So it's now or never for Andrea Caldarelli. And the fight between these two has been very, very firm but fair the whole way through the race, which has made it all the more enticing for us, because wherever Caldarelli or Bortolotti before him has found just a little bit of an advantage, it's not been able to cement, not really been able to make any little advantage count. The pace between the two of them has been virtually identical for lap after lap after lap, and it is reliant upon almost a small error just to provide a window of opportunity, and any window of opportunity that has come away or come the way of Andrea Caldarelli or Mirko Bortolotti in the first stint, they've not been able to capitalize on it. And that remains the case even now. The screen has gone down to 0 now. And now Caldarelli on the inside. This is on the exit of turn number 14. And this will be the last lap. Well, there's no last lap board out. Yes, it is the final lap. We have confirmation from race control. It's now or never for Andrea Caldarelli. In this, the first race of the ADAC GT Masters over this weekend. The race that's been led by Philip Ellis and Max Hofer. It's Philip Ellis in the driving seat at the moment. Andrea Caldarelli in the Lamborghini Huracan behind. And in replay, around goes the Audi. That's the Rahal Frey Philip Geipel car, having gone around. So anxious awaits in the garages. Look at this, the cars are virtually welded together. And that's how they've been for lap after lap after lap. Phoenix team chief looks on. Turn 14 awaits. Andrea Caldarelli has done everything he possibly could, but none of it was enough to be able to unseat the race winner. Philip Ellis takes the win from Andrea Caldarelli, P2, Kelvin van der Linde, P3, Timo Scheider, P4, Sebastian Asch, P5, Matteo Jaminet, P6, Maxi Boot, P7. In P8 it is Frank Stippler, P9, Jamie Green, and Maximilian Goertz closes the top 10. What a great race between those two throughout the duration of the race. Phenomenal to watch and enjoy. Ernst then very, very happy down there on the pit wall. What a brilliant drive from both Philip Ellis and from Max Hofer. So confirmation then, the winner. Race 1, Max Hofer, Philip Ellis for Audi R8 LMS, or for Phoenix Racing's Audi R8 LMS. So the number 5 car takes the win from the Lamborghini, despite throwing absolutely everything at it. Anything we didn't have was a change in the weather. We had safety cars, we had, well, that was good. That was good, and more to come, of course. Tomorrow we have another race. Confirmation of the result then, Max Hofer, Philip Ellis taking the win from Mirko Bortolotti, Andrea Caldarelli. Then it was the van der Linde brothers, P3. Jensen and Scheider, P4. Then Stolz and Asch and Renard and Jaminet. Doncher and Buch and Salaquada and Frank Stippler rounding out the top 8 on screen. Then it was Jeffrey Schmidt and Jamie Green, Marcus Bommer, Maximilian Goertz, Tonio and Jake Dennis, P11. Then Feller and Haas and Regevu Vervic, Bernhard Estra, Ortmann Winkelhock, Marschall and Boveng, ahead of Schrager, Ludwig, Assenheimer, Schmidt, Picciarello, Mies, Kirchhofer, Keilwitz, and Spengler, Vantor, and the rest of the order you can see on screen.
Aber durch einen phänomenalen Lauf dann an einen extrem gut aufgelegten Philip Ellis übergeben hat, der ebenfalls fehlerfrei das Ding nach Hause gefahren hat. In der zweiten Position
pretty happy down there.
Racing, der Lamborghini Huracan mit der Startnummer 63.